Coming up on Hawkeye Sports Report, the Weisman train keeps on rolling. In no more empty trophy case in Iowa City, Floyd of Rosedale has finally returned home. We'll have player reaction and breakdown of some gaudy statistics of running back Mark Weisman. And the field hockey team came out on top in an instant classic out at Grant Field Sunday, earning a milestone win for head coach Tracy Grisbaum. And a former two-sport athlete from Iowa has been named one of the newest managers in the major leagues. We'll tell you who just ahead in another edition of Hawkeye Sports Report. Hello everyone and welcome to Hawkeye Sports Report. Plenty of interesting storylines have developed over the last week in Hawkeye athletics, and probably the most talked about was the return of Floyd of Rosedale. The 31-13 win over Minnesota certainly came at the right time for what has been an up-and-down football team, and of course, who knows where this team would be without the development of Mark Weisman. Certainly a pleasant surprise over the past few weeks.
If you'd asked me in August if I knew that Mark Weisman would be as productive, I would have liked to have said yes, but that would have been a less than truth. We did work Mark in camp at tailback some, and we had no idea that he would be as productive as he's been since he's jumped in there. So as we continue with after the open date, hopefully we'll be as healthy going into Michigan State as we've been since we started the season. So we'll continue to work him at tailback and at fullback, and then with the return of Damon, hopefully then we'll be able to do some things, perhaps with both of those guys in the backfield at the same time that can be productive.
We now welcome in Hawkeye Radio Network's Rob Brooks. Rob, bye week is among us. Gives us a chance to look back here at the first 5 games of the season. One storyline that has emerged is Mark Weisman, obviously, through the first 5 games. We just heard from Coach Davis about him. What an impressive story he's been.
Well, it's kind of been a story where it started in the state of Iowa, kind of emerged throughout the Big Ten, and now I think you're talking about Mark Weisman in the country when you talk about outstanding running backs. And what he has been able to do the last 3 games is just amazing. 511 yards, 7 touchdowns, and the type of running back that he is, he can run in between the tackles, and the thing that impresses me is he can get it outside and get those shoulders turned north and south and take on safeties and corners, no problem. And I think when you look into the Big Ten Conference, if you don't have cornerbacks that are big and safeties that can tackle, that is where he can do some damage. And with that running game, that has really opened up the passing game. The last 3 weeks we've talked about the improvement of the passing game. All the big plays that Iowa has had the last 3 weeks have come off play action. And
you kind of talking to me earlier about that this running game has emerged thanks to the O-line, and this O-line is a group that has really improved since week 1.
I think when you look at week 1 through week 5, the offensive line has improved the most. You go back to Soldier Field against Northern Illinois, 6 sacks in that opening game. How about this? None since. We don't want to jinx them, though.
Yeah, that's a recipe for success right there. Let's talk about the defense a little bit. They've been a little roller coaster ride throughout the season, but how have they progressed since week 1?
Well, I think you look at up front. I want to see the Hawkeyes get more pressure. Phil Parker alluded to that as well. And with that comes, how do you do it? If you can't get a lot of pressure from that front 4, do you start bringing guys? Well, then you're susceptible on the back to giving up big plays, and you don't want to do that. I think when you look at the Iowa defense, let's go back the last decade. They've done very well against spread offenses, bending, not breaking. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that terminology, but boy, when you really go back to it, it works. Spread offenses usually average 35 to 40 points. With Iowa, they can usually keep them to within 20, 24. I think that'll be key in Big Ten play.
We talked that the bye week is among us. What exactly, for fans that don't know, what exactly goes on during a bye week?
Well, I think a lot of coaching goes on because you really don't have to game plan for that next opponent. Iowa won't do much this week against Michigan State. They'll really hone in on that on Sunday. So I think it's a week where the coaching staff can evaluate personnel and then also take a good look at the young players to see if there's anybody that maybe hasn't played yet that could get into the mix, because all the coaches have been on the same page saying, hey, if there is anybody out there on the team that has not played a whole lot that can help us, hey, we're going to get them on the field.
Let's talk about the Big Ten Conference in general. Maybe what's a storyline, maybe some surprises that have really jumped out at you here in the first 5 games?
Well, just like we thought at the beginning of the year, it is wide open, and I don't think that opinion has changed one bit. But I will pull out a couple of teams that have been a little bit of a surprise to me. One is Purdue. They're off to a good start. The offense is much improved, and defensively they're playing a little bit better, but it's a veteran team. Northwestern, in the top 25, 5-0, Kane Coulter. I don't know if there's a more exciting player in the Big Ten. It is going to be very difficult for defensive coordinators to try to hone him in, but they run over 90 plays. But hey, we don't have to worry about Northwestern for a few weeks. They have tough ball games ahead.
Well, Rob, there's 7 games left on the schedule. Iowa, it seems like they've been at home forever. Now they get ready to go to adjust to life on the road. Talk about their schedule and how it looks from here on out.
We've got to go play those games, huh?
I guess.
I kind of like being at home at Kinnick, but you're exactly right, and that's really what the month of October is going to be all about, because 3 of the next 4 games the Iowa Hawkeyes will play will be away from Kinnick. The lone home game, of course, the night game in a couple of weeks against Penn State. But at Michigan State, a very difficult place to play, but certainly a team that looked very, very good at the beginning of the year. I think still is good. Yep. But the way they play, Iowa can play them tight and maybe get a road victory. And then you're looking at Northwestern, at Indiana. So as they talk about on the PGA Tour, Saturday being moving day, I look in Big Ten football as October being moving month.
Well, we'll definitely see how these next few weeks play out. It'll be very important. Rob, thanks for stopping by. Enjoy the bye week.
All right, we'll see you next week.
All right, sounds good. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. It's now time to take a look at how Iowa athletics fared this past week. Let's hop on this week's Hawkeye Express. The bad news for the soccer team, they didn't win. The good news, they didn't lose. 2 games, 220 minutes played, and 2 draws for the team against Michigan and Michigan State. The 2 shutouts gives Iowa 9 on the season, and that ties a school record. Volleyball had another rough weekend in the nation's toughest conference, losing to Michigan and Michigan State. After a busy Friday and Saturday on the court, the team was up early Sunday to pound the pavement. The squad participated in Sunday morning's Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk at City Park in Iowa City. Head coach Sharon Dingman spoke during the event's opening ceremony, and the Hawks helped get the walkers on their way.
It's a beautiful Sunday morning. We're out at City Park. It's making strides to end breast cancer for Eastern Iowa. All the funds are going to the breast cancer fight through American Cancer Society. So it's a great day to be out, and you know it's good, especially for us indoor sport athletes, to get out and enjoy the outdoors a little bit.
We'll have more on the walk near the time of the team's annual Pink Match, which is October 17th against Nebraska in Carver Hawkeye Arena. The men's and women's cross-country teams competed at the Roy Griak Invitational last Saturday. The men's team finished in 6th and were led by John Michael Brandt, who finished 24th. 3 members of the women's team also competed, and they were led by Marika Shrula, who finished 5th. Shelby Talcott and Ruth Seaborn were in action for the women's tennis team down at the ITA All-American Championships. The duo were knocked off in their first and only doubles match. However, Seaborn won 2 of 3 matches in singles play. And the men's tennis team competed at the Penn Invitational. Jonas Dirks was the bright spot on the weekend. After losing his first match, he rattled off 3 straight singles wins over the course of the weekend to win the Penn Flight Consolation Championship, part of the bracket. And new rowing head coach Steve Pritzker's team competed in their first event of the fall season Saturday in Des Moines. Pretty good showing for the team as they recorded 9 top 3 finishes on the day. And the nationally ranked field hockey team extended their win streak to 6 games in dramatic fashion Sunday. Trailing 1-0 with just under 9 minutes left to go, Jessica Barnett tied the game off the penalty corner. Just minutes later, off another penalty corner, Sarah Drake is there for the redirect to put the Hawks ahead, and they end up hanging on for the 2-1 win over 18th ranked Ohio State, earning head coach Tracy Grisbaum her 150th win as a Hawkeye. More from her in just a bit. And finally, as we mentioned before, the football team knocked off Minnesota 31-13. The Hawks scored 3 touchdowns in a matter of 6 minutes en route to a 24-0 lead at halftime. They wouldn't look back, and finally a trophy is back in the trophy case, something that obviously means a great deal to the program.
Obviously, we were on a little drought there, and we knew this was a good team coming in, but there's a lot of emphasis on getting that trophy and starting 1-0 in the Big Ten, so we were able to check both those off.
There's no better feeling right there, like to know that for us seniors, Floyd's always going to be home for us, and you know, it felt good to finally get it back. And you know, I've never had to go run over and get it from another sideline before, and you know, that's just another fun experience for us. But yeah, it's definitely really fun.
All right. 1, 2, 3. We're fight for Iowa, and loyal Iowa sing. We're fight for Iowa. The walls and records we go. We're cheer for Iowa. We're cheer for Iowa. We're fight for Iowa.
The defense leads the way again for the Iowa women's soccer program. Freshman goalkeeper Hannah Clark is a player of the week. Clark played shutout soccer in the second halves and overtimes of both of Iowa's scoreless draws over the weekend against Michigan and Michigan State. Totaled up, she played 130 minutes and had 11 saves. Clark is also the Big Ten's co-defensive player of the week. And for 3 weeks running now, it's the running man, Mark Weisman, plowing his way into the Hawkeye Sports Report Players of the Week. Weisman rushed 21 times for 177 yards and a touchdown. Nationally, Weisman is second in rushing yardage over the last 3 games. Those are the Hawkeye Sports Report Players of the Week.
Last week we featured one of the most heralded two-sport athletes to come out of Iowa in Danon Hughes. This week we feature another two-sport athlete great who was a Hawkeye in the 90s. He's been most recently named the manager of the Houston Astros. Hawkeye Sports Report's Matt Nelson has more.
We're excited today. Want to make a new announcement. We've hired a new manager for the Houston Astros, Bo Porter.
The night before it was announced with the press conference, he had called to inform me he was going to be named the next day, but not to tell anybody. So I made a concerted effort, even though it was hard, because he was so excited and so fired up.
Porter was a starting center fielder on the baseball diamond who hit .318 in 1993.
Banks goes back now. He's being rushed and he throws it, batted down. Terrific play by Bo Porter.
On the football field, he was a 3-year letter winner and was the team MVP in 1994.
Bo had the discipline to get it done in the classroom and get it done on the football field and in baseball. And he was a good athlete. He had some speed, he had some natural abilities and agility.
Porter played portions of the 1999, 2000, and 2001 seasons for the Cubs, A's, and Rangers. His career average in 89 games was .214 with 2 home runs and 8 RBI.
I never really got that sense that he was planning on going on to be a major league manager, but you know, I think things progress over time. When he's in the Cubs organization as a player, spent some time in AAA in Des Moines, got some great relationships with the players and with the coaching staffs there. And I'll tell you, I think all the experience he got in the different franchises he was with helped him grow and learn.
Porter coached and managed at different levels of the Florida Marlins organization before joining the Arizona Diamondbacks for a season at the big league level. He spent the last 2 seasons in the nation's capital coaching third base. Now he gets his chance to call the shots.
He can communicate with them. He can motivate them. And they're going to love playing for this guy as a manager. There's no doubt in my mind.
While Porter has been named the Astros manager, he has unfinished business to attend to this fall. He will remain the third base coach of the National League East champion Nationals through the postseason.
I mean, we as Hawkeyes should all be very, very proud of him because his base and his training and the things he did with Dwayne Banks and the program here over the years is carrying on right now.
I'm Matt Nelson for Hawkeye Sports Report.
Thanks a lot, Matt, and thanks a lot to John Streif for stopping by, and certainly wish Bo all the best of luck down in Houston. Well, there's plenty of hype surrounding the men's basketball program following their NIT tournament bid last season. Monday night, some fans got a chance to interact with head coach Fran McCaffery by phone. As many as 2,000 fans were on with the coach at one time. Fans consisted of season ticket holders for the upcoming season or anyone who purchased single-game tickets or NIT tickets from last season. A perfect way for fans curious about the upcoming season to get answers to their questions.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the University of Iowa Men's Basketball Phonecast, our community phonecast. I'm Gary Dolphin, the radio network play-by-play voice of Iowa basketball and football, and even though we're in the midst of football season and the Hawks got a big win over Minnesota on Saturday, Big Ten has started, I'm delighted to be alongside Coach Fran McCaffery, who starts his 3rd year as the men's basketball coach here at the University of Iowa. And we're here to talk Hawkeye hoops for at least the next hour.
As a longtime Hawkeye fan, and having sat in Carver Hawkeye Arena when there were like 200 students in there, and we could only get them to come to a game if we offered them free pizza, as what they were towards the end of last year, and at the Dayton game.
Cartwright races out of a pile with it to White inside, stuffs it at the other end. Again,
you got to come. You know, it's our job to make them want to come, and then, you know, now we asked them to take a little bit of a leap of faith in the beginning, come and I still remember when they rushed the floor after we beat Purdue our first year. They were ranked 10th. that was a phenomenal day for all of us, because that year we had come so close so many times. And I do think that the students felt very much a part of that victory that day. And they rushed the floor a couple times last year, and they definitely feel like, hey, we impacted this game in such a huge way. I mean, specifically the Indiana and Wisconsin wins, and also the Dayton win, more so than any, which were 3 very big wins, 2 ranked teams and an NIT win.
Marble, I love him a point, but I think this is just my perspective, maybe better to swing man. Do we have somebody who could step in and play the point for us?
Well, I don't think there's any question that you know, Dev will play some point this year, but we're going to play him off the ball. I expect him to sort of be Matt Gatens' replacement, not only at that position, but more importantly in that role of a guy who can score when we need a bucket. He can score late. We can go to him 4, 5, 6 possessions in a row like we did last year with Matt. Our fast break philosophy is very simple, probably more simple than anybody would realize. We get it in and go. We run all makes and misses. My experience in the past, and I was a big secondary break guy years ago, what ended up happening was the players ended up getting away from primary break, which is we're running for a layup, or in today's basketball world, a quick 3 right out of transition. So you know, we're going to shoot it quick early in the possession. If I've got Oglesby, if I've got Marble, if I've got those guys at the 3-point line out of transition 3 seconds in, we're going to let her go.
Oglesby again. Bounce pass Marble to the bucket. Oh! Basavi! Spicy!
You know, I'm really looking forward to this season with this group of fans and this team we have.
We all know there's no finer or louder arena in America when it's 15,500 on a cold winter night in January with the Big Ten basketball, but plenty of great hoops in November and December as well. And Coach, I look forward to sitting alongside you again this year. It's gonna
Absolutely, Dolph. It's always a pleasure to work with you.
Coach Fran McCaffery, I'm Gary Dolphin. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on our University of Iowa Basketball Community Phonecast. And on Iowa, go Hawks.
Now let's take a look at this week's Plays of the Week.
Let's start with the nationally ranked field hockey team. A tough game against Ohio State Sunday was decided by Ann Arbor, Michigan native Sarah Drake. Drake's goal in the 65th minute was the game winner against the Buckeyes, giving the Hawks a come-from-behind 2-1 win. Here's one you don't see very often out of the football playbook, the flea flicker, and it was executed to perfection. The handoff to Mark Weisman, the toss back to James Vandenberg, and then a wide-open Jordan Cotton downfield. Cotton scores his first career TD on this 47-yard beauty in the victory over Minnesota. Finally, to golf, where the Hawkeye women knocked in their second ace of the fall season. Sophomore Shelby Phillips hit a 9-iron from 112 yards out on the par 3 16th hole at the club at Old Hawthorne in Columbia, Missouri. Senior Christy Cardwell had a hole-in-one 2 weeks prior. Those are the Hawkeye Sports Report Plays of the Week.
Welcome back. We're now joined by Field Hockey's head coach Tracy Grisbaum, and what a game that was on Sunday. A great comeback by your team and win number 150 for you. That had to have meant a lot to you.
The win definitely meant a lot. The 150, not as much, but I mean, it's still a marker, and it's something, you know, my job is to represent the Hawkeyes. So yeah. I was really proud with the victory, and the manner in which our team went about their business was great. The
team battled and battled throughout the entire game. It came down in the final 10 minutes, and your team came through for you. What does that say about the resiliency of your team?
It says a lot, and we did talk about that after the game, and they want it so bad that sometimes it gets them out of sorts a little bit, and they were pressing way too early in the game. And at that timeout that Ohio State called, we just tried to calm them down a little bit and say, you are playing, there's 16 minutes left on the clock and you're playing like there's a minute. You know, right. We have to kind of settle in. And they handled it really well, and the leadership on the field was definitely displayed by our seniors.
It's kind of a symbol of what the Big Ten is going to be like, and you sit atop the Big Ten right now. Do you talk about that with your team, or do you just try to ignore that you are atop the Big Ten right now?
Somewhere in the middle. I don't think we really make it this huge, you know, announcement or anything like that, but we can't really ignore it either. It's somewhere in the middle, but we're never going to lose sight of what we need to do day to day. And practice today is the most important thing we have to do.
Well, Coach, just kind of talk about your schedule from here on out. You got 8 games, 4 on the road, which you're about to embark on, and then 4 at home.
Yeah. Going to Indiana on Friday will be a special opportunity, our third conference game. We're looking forward to that. And Louisville on Sunday, both really strong regional opponents. So overall, we're looking forward to the weekend.
Good. You can catch that game with Indiana on the Big Ten Network. Coach, we wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Thanks so much.
1, 2, 3. Here we go.
Now wrapping things up on Hawkeye Sports Report, let's check out what's coming up this weekend in the Hawkeye world of sports. Quiet weekend in Iowa City as the only team in town will be softball. They'll take on Iowa Central Community College Friday night at 6 p.m. Baseball will head to Omaha to take on Creighton in a Saturday and Sunday matchup. The nationally ranked field hockey team will be on the road trying to extend their 6-game win streak. Friday they'll take on Indiana in Bloomington at 2 p.m. They will then travel south to Louisville to take on the Cardinals at noon on Sunday. Women's volleyball will also be in Bloomington Friday to take on the Hoosiers at 6 p.m. They will then travel to Purdue for a Saturday evening matchup with the Boilermakers. And women's soccer will have just one game this weekend in Minneapolis. They'll take on the Gophers Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. With one more shutout, they will set the school record for shutouts in a season. And of course, football is on a bye week this weekend. Time for them to get some rest and allow some guys to get healthy before heading into East Lansing next weekend. We recently had a chance to sit down with one of the best gymnastics coaches in the world, Liang Chow, who hails from right here in Iowa. Chow is most famously known for coaching Shawn Johnson and Gabby Douglas to gold medals in each of the last 2 Olympiads. But he has some major ties with Iowa Hawkeyes, having coached former Hawkeye gymnast Jessa Hansen, and he's also been a lifelong friend of gymnastics head coach Larissa Libby. We sat down with all three in a must-see interview that we will bring to you next week. You will not want to miss that. That's all the time we have for today. Have a wonderful weekend.